My name is Emmanuel Amagashi.
I'm Thelma Taki. With us in the studio to do the sign language interpretation of the bulletin is Clement Sam. Our first story.
President Akufo-Addo left Accra for Belgium and the United States to attend meetings of the United Nations Advocacy Group of Eminent Personalities on the UN 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. He will be co-chairperson and attend the G20 Partnership for Africa Summit in Germany.
In Belgium, President Akufo-Addo will meet with the Norwegian Prime Minister, Her Excellency Erna Solberg. President Akufo-Addo will also hold separate meetings with the Belgian Prime Minister Charles Michel and President of the European Commission Jean-Claude Juncker. Later in the U.S., President Akufo-Addo will address the UN Oceans Conference in New York.
Why shouting? At last, ECOWAS leaders have agreed to expedite the process to introduce biometric identity cards and remove non-tariff barriers to improve trade among member states.
At the 51st ordinary session of the Authority of Heads of State in Liberia, the West African leaders also reaffirmed their determination to fight terrorism.
President Akufo-Addo joined his counterparts for the first time as president at the 51st ordinary session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of ECOWAS in Liberia. His presence at the regional meeting was also to show Ghana's commitment to the ECOWAS project, especially in the areas of trade liberalization, common currency and integration. High on the agenda included political, economic and security concerns besetting the sub-region, particularly the approaches to achieving the regional economic integration agenda and right-tracking West Africa's development planning. Morocco's application for membership was also considered, despite Moroccan King Mohammed's absence at the meeting. Morocco's application comes after it rejoined the African Union in January this year. The meeting also had Israeli Prime Minister Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu as special guest of honor. This is the first time in many years that an Israeli Prime Minister is visiting Africa.
When I landed here after a long flight from Israel, I found that a somber cloud hangs over this glorious day. This is the cloud of terrorism that has claimed the lives of so many innocent Africans, most recently in Niger and Mali. And in recent hours, another terrible attack was launched on innocent people in the heart of London. We condemn it. We send our condolences to the British people, and we pledge our commitment to fight this scourge that knows no bounds. These terrorists worship death. They murder indiscriminately, but they will not frighten us. They will not terrorize us. They will only harden our resolve to defeat them. And together here in Africa, in the Middle East, and Europe, everywhere, together we will defeat them faster.
The meeting saw West African leaders reaffirming their commitment to implementing the provision of free movement of persons, residents, and establishment. In a communique issued at the end of the meeting, the members resolved to improve on information and intelligence sharing so as to combat terrorism. Outgoing chairperson of ECOWAS and Liberia's president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, urged members to work to attain the sustainable development goals, especially on reducing poverty and improving job creation.
The road to regional integration is likely to be long and require consistency in effort. Economies of several of our countries have progressed tremendously in the past years, but are now plagued by a sharp decline in commodity prices on the world market. If there is a lesson to be learned from this situation, which affects all of our exports, from oil to iron ore and to cocoa, it is that we must diversify our economies and invest in small transformative industries. With a population of more than 300 million, we have the potential to establish an internal marketplace that will create jobs and sustain our progress.
President Faure Gnassingbé of Togo was elected as the new chairman of ECOWAS for a one-year tenure. He takes over from President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf of Liberia.
Let's go to Burma camp now. President Akufo-Addo has posthumously promoted the late Captain Maxwell Adam Mahama to the rank of Major. The Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, President Akufo-Addo, visited the late captain's family to commiserate with them. President Akufo-Addo announced that the gallant deceased soldier will be given a full state burial on Friday. Accompanied by Ministers of State and the Chief of Defense Staff, President Akufo-Addo arrived at the Burma camp to commiserate with the wife and family of the late Captain Maxwell Adam Mahama, now Major Mahama. The young gallant soldier met his untimely death when he was lynched by a mob at the Boase in the central region. It is exactly a week ago when the tragic incident occurred. President Akufo-Addo assured the family that the perpetrators of the heinous crime will face the law. He asked the widow and the family to take consolation in the fact that the whole nation is behind them in mourning the deceased soldier.
Some of the things that we can do to express to you our solidarity, our sympathy, our very deep sympathy. I've decided that on Friday, your husband be given a full state burial. The entire panoply of the Ghanaian state will be there on Friday, at the State House, with the sound of the trumpets and everything, to bid him farewell. The Chief of Defense Staff made a recommendation to me today that he wanted your husband to be promoted posthumously, and he gave his reasons. I have the authority as the Commander-in-Chief to do that, and I have done so. Promoted him to the rank of Major. I've signed the papers and the certificate. I believe it's even here. I'm going to present it to you. So from now on, we're not talking about Captain Mahama, we're talking about Major Adam Mahama. And at the meeting of the cabinet that I've just come from, the cabinet agreed that we should also erect a monument, an appropriate and suitable monument in his honor in Ghana, so that his memory will stay.
He announced that a memorial fund in honor of the late soldier has been set up with a seed money of 500,000 Ghana cedis. The president has personally contributed 50,000 Ghana cedis to the fund.
Live and let your children live with the memory of your gallant husband, that you are married to a fine man. In Ghana, and everybody has appreciated. It should provide you some comfort in the difficult days that are ahead of you. I can end up by saying that for me, anything that I can do, my government can do, to ease things for you and to help you, don't feel shy, don't hesitate. It's easy to find me. Do so, and you'll always have a welcome place with me. The doors will always be open to you and your family.
The citation for the promotion of the late captain, now Major Maxwell Adam Mahama, was read by the Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Obed Akwa.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is to rehabilitate some of Ghana's embassies in some countries. According to the Foreign Minister, Ms. Shirley Ayoko-Botchwey, the government has secured a $50 million facility from Societe Generale for the renovation works. She described the state of some of the missions as deplorable.
Ghana has about 119 properties across the world, and most of these are in a bad state.
Quite a number of our missions have been indebted to landlords for long periods, and some are even facing threats of ejection. In some instances, they are in complete violation of the building, fire, and safety regulations of our host nations, and this is a cause of serious embarrassment to government. Fortunately, the ministry has secured a 50 million bridge facility from Société Générale for this purpose.
The minister said government is also committed to ensuring that all Ghanaians, including those in the diaspora, benefit from Ghana's foreign policy activities.
Considering the great importance that the NPP government attaches to the issue of the engagement of Ghanaians in the diaspora in support of our national development efforts, His Excellency the President has directed the establishment of the Diaspora Affairs Office at the Office of the President that will collaborate with the Diaspora Affairs Unit of this ministry for effective coordination, monitoring, and delivery.
In other news, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Shirley Ayoko-Botchwey, has encouraged newly appointed ambassadors to sell Ghana abroad as an investment destination. She said high on government's agenda is building economic diplomacy relations, which is expected to help boost the country's economic growth. The newly appointed ambassadors are attending a training program on their diplomatic duties.
The orientation program for the newly appointed ambassadors will define their duties and make them function well as heads of Ghana's missions abroad. The Minister for Foreign Affairs, Ms. Shirley Ayoko-Botchwey, told the ambassadors to promote trade, foreign direct investments and tourism in their assigned countries. She urged them to actively engage Ghanaians in the diaspora with a view to increasing their participation in the national development agenda.
One of the main tools that will be employed by government to achieve its foreign policy objectives is economic diplomacy. That is why, in order to realign the ministry's objectives to achieve the government's economic diplomacy agenda, I have directed the re-establishment of the Economic, Trade and Investment Bureau, ECTIB, at the ministry. The new bureau, under a senior director, will coordinate all the economic, trade, tourism and investment promotional activities of the country in conjunction with the Ghana missions abroad and in collaboration with the ministry's departments and agencies and other stakeholders in Ghana.
GBC24 spoke to some of the ambassadors.
I'm expecting that at the end of this program, we will know how to promote Ghana outside and also to attract genuine investors and tourists to the country for the well-being of everybody at large.
We are to sell our country outside, try and bring investors in Ghana and try and make our president's dream come true.
News Hour on GBC24. The Deputy Eastern Regional Director of Agriculture, Mr. James Yawasante, and officials from the Ministry of Agric have visited farms in the Yilo and Lower Manyakrobo municipalities in the eastern region, which reported cases of armyworm infestation. The inspection was to see the effect of chemicals distributed to halt the spread of the pests on the farms.
The fall armyworm, also called Spodoptera frugipeda, is a pest that feeds in large numbers on leaves and stems of more than 80 plant species. It is called fall armyworm because it eats its way through most of the vegetation in its way as it marches through crops, and it's native to North and South America. The pest caused major damage to economically important crops such as maize, rice, sorghum, and sugarcane. Fall armyworm infestation was first reported in Africa in 2016 and has since caused significant damage to maize crops. This year, a number of maize farms have been infested across the country. The Ministry of Agriculture distributed some chemicals to district agric offices in affected regions for onward distribution to farmers to help curb the situation. In the eastern region, all 26 municipalities and districts reported cases of infestation and were allocated with pesticides. In all, 2,400 liters of assorted chemicals were distributed to farmers to be used on 2,000 acres of affected farmlands. The Deputy Regional Director, Mr. James Yawasanti, first visited affected farms at Okwenya in the Yilo Krobo municipality. One of the affected farmers, Mr. Emmanuel Kote, complained that the chemicals given were not enough to spray all the farms, and this, he said, can lead to the reinfestation if not tackled appropriately. The Yilo Krobo Municipal Director of Agriculture, Mr. Daniel Odru, gave an overview of the infestation in the municipality.
Last year, even though we had the problem of the infestation, it was very difficult for us to control. But this year, because we were able to come out with the chemical that was able to control the insects last year, this year we've been able to manage it. So the destruction in the municipal is minimal as compared to last year. In addition, the government was able to support us with chemicals, and we have also recommended the chemical that we've been using last year to control it or to manage it to the farmers. So those who can afford goes to the agrochemical shop, buy it in addition to what the government gave them to spray.
In the Lower Manya Krobo municipality, about 500 acres of maize farms were affected. The Deputy Regional Director, Mr. James Yawasanti, said the affected farms are recovering, adding that more chemicals will be supplied to halt the infestation.
So far, my impression with the 2-3 places that we have visited is that the plants are recovering and the insects are being controlled. However, the chemical levels, since they need to spray more than once, will have to be increased to the various MMDAs.
One of the farmers, Mr. Ahulu Taria, and the district agriculture officer in charge of the Yongwase zone of the Lower Manya Krobo municipality, Mr. Alex Fojo, also spoke to GBC24 about their concerns.
Star Ghana is collaborating with Parliament to enhance good governance and the work of the legislature in the country. The 5-year project is targeted at the leadership of Parliament, 4 select committees, and the parliamentary service. A £22 million agreement has been signed to that effect in Accra.
Under the 5th and 6th Parliament of Ghana, Star Ghana supported the House with a $3 million package towards strengthening the institution to effectively carry out its lawmaking mandate. 10 parliamentary select committees, parliamentary services, revision of the standing order, public accounts committee and technical support for a development framework for the parliamentary institution benefited from the Phase 1 of Star Ghana's support. With the Phase 2, it's expected that the House would be more responsive, accountable and transparent in its dealings. According to Star Ghana, it will collaborate with both state and non-state bodies to demand accountability and performance from duty bearers.
It was quite clear to us by the middle of the first phase that it was not enough to support the demand for accountability and performance by office holders. It was also important to ensure that duty bearers were in the position to meet the demands of the civil society. So the involvement of Parliament was indeed initially a pilot scheme. We have now gone beyond that, and we have now begun to firmly develop the notion of approaching our work in a more strategic manner.
The committees on health, gender, local government and education are the only groups captured to benefit from the second phase of the project. Despite the cut, the House says it will deliver on its mandate.
We will not expect that you shall treat us with kid gloves, because we are all working towards a project, a scientific project that should be carried out systematically and with professionalism. In the process, we assure you once more of financial transparency and accountability, which I know are the hallmark of your organization.
Whilst commending Star Ghana for their support, the minority leader, Mr. Haruna Idrisu, urged Parliament to develop a new culture of oversight responsibility, which he believes had been relegated to the opposition. The Deputy Majority Leader, Sarah Adjoasafo, says the House will work effectively with the resources available. The Phase 2 of the project is funded by DFID, the European Union, Danida, and managed by Christian Aid.
The President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has appointed Madam Irene Natoshi Addo as the new administrator of the District Assembly Common Fund. If approved, she would take over from Mr. Kojo Finn, who was relieved of his post earlier this year. Her appointment was announced in Parliament today in a letter to the House and subsequently referred to the Appointments Committee for consideration.
Mr. Speaker, it's my hope that the approval of Irene Natoshi Addo can proceed expeditiously to enable her assume office as soon as possible.
One of the tragedies that struck the country earlier this year was the Kintampo waterfall disaster, where 20 people died and 21 others sustained injuries. Most of the victims were revelers from the Winchi Methodist Senior High School and the University of Energy and Natural Resources in the Bunahafo region. The site was closed to visitors pending an audit, reconstruction and investigation into the cause of the accident. The Member of Parliament for North Tong, Mr. Samuel Okujetu Ablakwa, asked about the steps being taken to guarantee the safety of tourists in Ghana at the various tourist sites.
Mr. Speaker, to ensure full recovery and improvements in service delivery, the team made a number of recommendations which included: 1, an immediate afforestation exercise to improve the diversity of flora in and around the Kintampo Forest, activities to check erosion, a review of the management structures, recruitment and training enhancements, introduction of clearly defined public safety management measures and emergency preparedness and coordination, removal of loose rocks and those in potentially precarious positions at various stages of the Kintampo Forest.
Ghana's drive to digital inclusion is far from fetched, as most parts of the country are yet to be fully connected. Responding to a question on the subject matter, the Minister for Communication, Mrs. Ursula Ekufo, said government is working assiduously to achieve the digital inclusion goal. The Member of Parliament for Afram Plains North, Betty Nanefua Mensah, raised concerns about the abuse of the rights of children under the misconception of rescuing them from child labor and human trafficking by some NGOs.
On one of such days, when some of my constituents were on their daily routine, some members of an international NGO called International Justice Mission, in the company of a team of armed police officers, raided the waters surrounding the Dwarf Island and took away families who were on the lake for reasons of traveling, accompanying their parents or brothers to fish, or for other economic reasons. Mr. Speaker, for the past 1 month, these children, many of whom are in school, have been arrested and detained at places unknown to both parents and stakeholders.
As I speak now, I still receive calls from some parents from my constituencies demanding to know the whereabouts of these kids.
We need to intensify education to appreciate our values and culture, whilst we still respect the Western position on avoiding the abuse of children and fighting the child trafficking menace.
A child accompanies his father to a factory to work. It is deemed as training for the child. That is not hazardous. A child accompanies the parents to a farm. That is deemed as hazardous labor. So the time has come for us to really interrogate what constitutes hazardous.
The first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Joseph Osei-Wusu, charged the Committees on Gender and Social Welfare, Labour, Constitutional and Legal to look into the matter. The committee has 2 weeks to furnish the House with its findings.
The 2017 Basic Education Certificate examinations is still ongoing across the country. So far, no examination malpractices have been recorded. We're bringing more stories from the regions.
44,749 candidates comprising 23,486 males and 21,268 females are writing this year's BECE in the Eastern region. In the East Achim municipality, 2,670 are writing the exams. This comprises 1,394 boys and 1,276 girls. The minister, who was accompanied by the East Achim Municipal Chief Executive, Mr. Owusu-Chum Ampofo, first visited the Oforipenyin SHS, which had 4 centers, A, B, C, and D. The regional minister encouraged the pupils to give off their best and come out successfully to enjoy the government's free SHS policy to be rolled out next academic year. 208 candidates were writing at the Buakwa State College Center when the regional minister visited. 4 pupils made up of 2 girls and 2 boys were absent, while 236 candidates comprising 109 boys and 127 girls were writing at the Chebi Senior High Technical School Center with no absentee. The Regional Director of Education, Mrs. Gertrude Mensah, advised the invigilators to abide by all the rules and regulations.
A total number of 47,467 candidates from 1,562 public and private schools are taking part in this year's Basic Education Certificate Examination BECE in 168 centers in the Western region. According to the Regional Directorate of Education, some 168 invigilators and 168 supervisors, as well as teachers, parents, and the candidate have been sensitized on the need to adhere strictly to the rules and regulations governing the conduct of the examinations. Meanwhile, the Shama District Directorate of Education in the Western region say it has suspected 11 pregnant pupils among the female candidates writing this year's BECE. Last year, the Directorate recorded 4 pregnancies among the female candidates, even though there were a number of programs to help curb teenage pregnancy. According to the Directorate, 4 candidates absented themselves without any tangible reason, and a pupil was also reported dead after the registration of the final examinations.
My name is Maurice Ogbete with the business news brought to you by NIB and Ernest Chemist. Now, Ghana has joined the Consultative International Cashew Council. The council is responsible for promoting cashew in Africa.
Cashew production in Africa has grown impressively, reaching 1.8 million metric tons in 2016. It is gradually emerging as one of the top commodities of most African economies. The Consultative International Cashew Council, CICC, was therefore formed by cashew-producing countries in Africa to develop and regulate the industry due to its rapid growth. The Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture, Mr. William Kretu, said apart from cocoa, Ghana's cashew industry is doing good, and this has necessitated the need to join the Consultative International Cashew Council, CICC.
The cashew world have recognized that the future of cashew is with Africa, and they are ready to support to develop it using the block development approach. Government bodies, regulatory authorities, private sector entities, and others are all entreated to join on today's council. Because by working together, local processing in Africa will be facilitated, which will allow us to tap into the many benefits of processing, promote cooperation among producing countries, and defend the interests of both the private and public sectors.
The Director General, Le Conseil de Coton et de l'Anacarde, ACCA, Dr. Adama Coulibaly, said the formation of the council is a step in the right direction because about 60% of cashew supply to the international market comes from cashew-producing countries in Africa.
Processing is a challenge in all the countries, as have been said in Ghana. Is a challenge. In Cote d'Ivoire too is a challenge. But the challenges are different from one country to another. So the idea here for Ghana to join the CICC, where Cote d'Ivoire is already, and many other countries, is also to share their experiences and to be able to be competitive enough as other international countries like in India, Vietnam, who are buying the cashew from Africa, but still competitive enough.
The Managing Director of the Africa Cashew Alliance, Mr. Ernest Minta, called on financial institutions to make credit facilities flexible for cashew farmers. The President of the Cashew Industry Association of Ghana, Mr. Winfred Osei-Owusu, said Ghana has 14 installed raw cashew processing units. Out of that number, 2 are doing well. Ghana will soon set up a cashew board to oversee the activities of the industry.
And still in business, total gold output from Ghana increased by 45% in 2016 compared to the previous year. The Ghana Chamber of Mines says this came about due to an increase in production from Newmont Gold and Anglo Gold Ashanti, as well as the coming on board of a new mining company based in Canada.
The mining industry of Ghana accounts for 5% of the country's GDP, and minerals make up 37% of total exports, of which gold contributes over 90% of the total mineral exports. Ghana, Africa's second largest producer, produced 4.1 million ounces of gold. This is the highest level in nearly 40 years. The figure is up from 2.8 million ounces in 2015. Canada's Asanko Gold, which launched its operations in Ghana late 2015, produced 162,802 ounces of gold last year, while US-based Newmont Gold and Anglo Gold Ashanti's mine recorded increases in output. Output from artisanal miners rose nearly sixfold to 1.5 million ounces in 2016 from 267,662 in the previous year. Total gold revenues for 2016, including exports from small-scale mining, amounted to $5.15 billion. This is up from $3.32 billion in 2015. Thus, the main focus of Ghana's mining and minerals development industry remains focused on gold. Manganese output also rose to 2 million tons last year from 1.2 million tons, while diamond production slipped to 143,005 carats and 185,376 carats in 2015.
And so the city showing signs of depreciation after some months of improvement. On the interbank market today, the dollar is selling at 4 cedis 29 pesos, the pound at 5 cedis 53 pesos, and the euro going for 4 cedis 84 pesos. We also bring you latest prices of major commodities on the international market. And that was business brought to you by NIB and Ernest Chemist.
Thanks for staying on. In health news tonight, the joy of every mother is to have a child without any complication or ailment. The joy suddenly turns into sorrow if the child is unfortunately diagnosed with a deformity which the mother had no idea of. In this report, GBC24's Mavis Ofei Champong tells us about clubfoot, a disability detected at birth. Experts say, though not preventable, it is curable.
Kofi is among the many little babies suffering from clubfoot, a congenital deformity of the foot which is detected at birth or even at 16 weeks of pregnancy. It develops as a result of abnormal development of a baby's bone, ligament and muscles while in the womb. It is one of the most common orthopedic deformities in children. According to health experts, the cause is unknown, but appears as a result of several factors, with genetics playing a role. It could affect both legs, thus bilateral clubfoot or one leg lateral clubfoot condition. The condition severely twists the foot downward and inward, making walking difficult or impossible. Like baby Kofi, which we call him for the purpose of this report, he was born a preterm baby and diagnosed with a clubfoot. His mother, Portia Infum, had no idea what this condition was, but with the help of physiotherapists and orthopedic surgeons, baby Kofi is now walking well without any deformity.
We started from POP and then to the brace, and then now he's free, so like he uses the brace at night. What do you tell me? I urge them to go to the hospital anytime they see that they're having a problem with their child.
Unlike baby Kofi, who has the lateral clubfoot condition, 1-year-old Nana Kwame has the bilateral clubfoot condition. His condition was detected just a day after birth, and he is also walking well after a series of treatment.
The whole procedure is gradual. You wouldn't get the results automatically from the casting through to the bracing, and the bracing is very important, otherwise the whole thing can relapse. That's very key. So he wears the braces every day, but then when he started walking, we do it only at night when he's sleeping, and you know, it's curable.
A consultant orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Prosper Moore, who is at the St. Joseph Hospital, Diayankwanta, said in the past, clubfoot was treated with surgery, but now the globally accepted treatment is the Ponseti method, which is free and painless.
The surgery that is involved in treatment of clubfoot is very minimal, which is almost at the last stage. It's all about applying the POP. I don't know whether you know what called a plaster white thing that we use normally. You see it on the broken legs. We manipulate the foot and cast it, and then we do it every week. And then after 4 to 5 weeks, you see that the foot is almost normal. And then we do a small surgery we call a tenotomy. And then afterwards, we put the feet in a special brace. These are braces, a metal bar with 2 shoes connected. And the purpose of the brace is to maintain the feet, so the feet will remain normal until the child gets to the age of 4 years. It is known that after 4 years, it's not likely that the feet will relapse. But before 4 years, if you don't use the braces, these feet can relapse. So that's very, very critical. So we have 2 phases. The corrective phase, which is using the POP, and the maintenance phase, which is using the brace when the foot is already corrected.
According to health experts, the brace is worn 23 hours a day for 3 months, then worn at night. There can only be a recurrence of the condition if it is not treated well. For now, treatment of clubfoot is free. For GBC24.
Hello, good evening. Let's talk sports. A veteran broadcaster who was a household name in the 80s and 90s, Mr. Jonati, has challenged sports journalists and commentators to see research as key to the development of their chosen professions. Mr. Lati, also known as Over to You, Joe Lati, marked his 90th birthday and shared his professional experience with News Sports.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Hooray! Hooray!
Today, Tuesday, June 6th, is the birthday of veteran broadcaster, a household name in the 80s and 90s, and once the head of GBC Sports, Mr. Joe Lati. Over a considerably extensive period, Mr. Lati ruled the airways when covering national events for the state broadcaster GBC. Today, News Sports celebrated the living legend on his 90th birthday. Mr. Lati urged up-and-coming sports commentators and journalists to do more research before going on air.
My primary and very serious advice is that you should be ready and prepared to learn. The job you are doing is not a job that you can just do. You may be gifted, you may be very eloquent, you may be very sharp with your memory. You may have all the qualities, but you must be prepared to learn. You learn at the feet of those who know. And by doing so, you become what we normally call, you become a star. But if you don't learn, your deficiencies can easily be found by those who know. You should be prepared to research. Do research. You should be prepared to cross-check what you have. Any information you gather, cross-check it.
Mr. Lati was the first president of the Sports Writers Association of Ghana, SWAG, and currently a patron of the association. Elsewhere, Britain's Andy Murray has progressed to the 7th French Open quarterfinals. The world #1 came through 6-3, 6-4, 6-4 to claim his 650th ATP victory in 2 hours and 4 minutes. That's all for sports.
Hello, good evening. The ad segment is brought to you by Cowbell. My name is Valerie Danso. Dancehall artist Ms. V burst onto the Ghanaian music scene in 2012 as the lead singer of Lynx Entertainment's girl band. Having been nominated twice for the BET Awards in previous years, Ms. V says she hopes to make the top list again next year.
See you tomorrow. Before we go, let's recap our top stories for this package. ECOWAS leaders have agreed to expedite the process to introduce biometric identity cards and remove non-tariff barriers to improve trade among member states. At the 51st ordinary session of the Authority of Heads of State in Liberia, the leaders also reaffirmed their determination to fight terrorism.
President Akufo-Addo has posthumously promoted the late Captain Maxwell Adam Mahama to the rank of a major. As Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, President Akufo-Addo, who visited the late captain's family to commiserate with them, announced that he will be giving full state burial on Friday, 9th June 2017 in Accra.
The Deputy Eastern Regional Director of Agriculture, Mr. James Yawasante, has visited some farms in the Yilo Krobo and Lower Manya Krobo municipalities, which reported cases of the fall armyworm infestation. Slow recoveries have been made since the ministry distributed chemicals to halt the spread of the pest, but farmers are calling for more to prevent. That's how we end this bulletin of news. Join us again at 10 p.m. for the late edition. Until then, have a good evening.